Tell us about the film.
So it's found footage 3D.
Yes.
It is about a group of filmmakers that go out to this cabin in the woods to shoot the first 3D found footage horror movie, and then find themselves in a found footage horror movie when the evil specter from their movie starts showing up in their behind the scenes footage. And so it's very much it's a sort of Scream-esque take on the found footage genre.
Tell us about your guys' involvement. How did you become involved in the project? What's your role? What was your roles?
Well, I'm an actor in the movie. I play Carl, the sex symbol
God.
of the movie. Yeah, no, I mean it was casting. I actually, oddly enough, was not told about that they wanted me by my agent, who I fired over this movie, which is great. But you know, I Skyped with. Oddly enough, I Skyped with Steven when I was in London.
He was,
I was
first time we
actually
ever
in
talked,
London.
he was in
All
London.
right.
Yeah, for it was like Sundance was going on here a couple years ago. And we Skyped here, and we just, you know, I totally got what he wanted to do, which was what I was hoping he wanted to do when I read the, you know, the breakdown and everything. And it's one of those things, like as an actor, when you read a part, you're like, oh my God, this is he wrote for me. He wrote for me. I've never met this guy, but he did this. What a great gift.
Yeah, so Stephen and I were working on a movie together almost exactly 4 years ago to the day. It was a French short film.
It was a short film.
French short
A
film.
French short film shot in Argentina, India, and the United States. Not a word of French in the film. So Stephen was doing sound on that, and I produced it. And Stephen approached me. One of the stars of the movie was Michael Stahl-David, who's the star of Cloverfield. And so it made for a really organic kind of conversation about found footage. And Stephen started talking about this found footage horror film, about the making of a found footage horror film. And I really love meta things, postmodernism.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, yeah, so I was immediately drawn to it. And, you know, we started talking about it. And, you know, we weren't even talking about 3D at that point.
From our audience, and like the audience expectation is some people don't like fucking found footage films, and some people don't like 3D. But you are kind of setting yourself up for a fall because of the anti-found footage and the anti-3D. So was that like?
I could, you know, I knew that there were 3D cameras, you know, I'd seen Jackass 3D and Cave of Forgotten Dreams, and I knew that we could shoot it on sort of 3D camcorders, and that nobody had done that before, and I was like, well, it makes no sense, really, but if I make my character do it, and he's a jackass, and he, you know, it makes no sense for him, he just does it just because he thinks it's going to make a lot of money, and that then becomes sort of an organic part of our story, and then as you know, it was still another year or so before we shot the movie, and so as successive drafts of the script, it started to become more and more integrated into the story, and more integrated into sort of how I was going to, you know, shoot.
And how was it with the equipment shooting it in 3D rather than the regular 2D?
It was, I mean, you know, it was very little difference in terms of, I mean, you know, because the cameras, again, it's just a camcorder that's got two lenses, and so for the most part, it's got all the same settings as any regular
technology
camcorder.
is changing, evolving, and whatever. I've only seen it in 2D because I couldn't possibly watch it in 3D unless I hired a cinema or whatever. So I'm going to be fascinated to see as much of it as I can in 3D. Because apparently it works really well.
I always say it's like seeing the 2D version. If you see the 2D version, because that's the first time the cast saw the movie was at Bruce Campbell Fest. And I'm just happy I'm in a movie that's fucking good. It's good. It's a good fucking movie. It's the first movie I've been in where I feel like it's all good.
Yeah.
Right? So, but you see it, if you see it in 2D, it's great. It's a great movie. It all works. But it's like the equivalent of going to get like a meal. Like if you had like this amazing chef make you this meal and you ate it and you're like, oh my God, that was amazing. And he's like, oh shit, I forgot to put this stuff in it. And then he comes by and does this, and you take another bite, and it's like, oh my God, what is that? There's a whole nother layer. You know, and it's better. It's actually better. So that's kind of